Sir, you cannot enter this building without proper authorization. Principal Karen Weston's voice carried across the front steps of Jefferson High School, sharp and officious. The man standing before her in his dress uniform, navy whites with ribbons across his chest, held a folded flag in his hands. "I'm here for the graduation ceremony," he said quietly. "My son," Karen cut him off with a raised hand. "I have a list of approved attendees. Your name isn't on it. School policy is clear. If you're not on the list, you don't enter." The man's jaw tightened. Behind him, families streamed past, heading inside. "Please," he said, "my son is Jake Morrison. He's graduating today." Karen checked her tablet, scrolled through names. "I don't see a Jake Morrison on the graduate roster." The man's knuckles went white around the flag. "He's there. He has to be there. If you believe our fallen heroes and their families deserve our honor and respect, type honor in the comments right now." Robert Morrison was 52 years old, and he'd been awake for 36 hours straight. The flight from Dover Air Force Base to Phoenix had taken most of yesterday. Turbulence and layovers and the constant weight of the flag they'd placed in his arms. The flag that had draped his son's casket. Jake had been 22 years old. A Navy SEAL deployed to East Africa on a counter-terrorism operation that Robert still didn't have clearance to know the details of. The Navy had told him what they could. Hostile engagement. Jake had led his team into a compound, took fire protecting his teammates, died before the medevac could arrive. They'd used words like hero, valor, sacrifice. Robert had heard none of it. He just stood there thinking about how 3 days ago Jake had FaceTimed him from somewhere he couldn't name, excited about graduation, about coming home, about finally finishing high school after enlisting straight out of junior year through a special military program. 3 days. Jake had been 3 days from walking across that stage. The graduation ceremony was scheduled to start in 45 minutes. Robert had driven straight from the airport to the school. Still in his dress uniform, he'd served 24 years in the Navy himself, retired as a senior chief. He'd wanted to wear his uniform today to honor his son, to stand in for Jake the way Jake would have wanted. The school had contacted him yesterday, told him they'd heard about Jake, offered condolences, mentioned something about a posthumous diploma. Robert had barely processed it. He'd just known he needed to be here, needed to see Jake's name called, needed to receive that diploma because his son had earned it. Jake had taken online classes during deployment, finished his final credits between missions, studied algebra in a forward operating base while other SEALs slept. That diploma meant something. Jake had died before he could hold it, but Robert would hold it for him. Principal Karen Weston had been running Jefferson High School for 3 years. She was 41 years old, organized to the point of rigidity, someone who believed rules existed for a reason and exceptions led to chaos. The graduation ceremony was her crown jewel each year, precisely choreographed, every minute accounted for, security protocols in place. When the man in the Navy uniform appeared at the front entrance claiming to be the father of a graduate not on her roster, Karen's first instinct was protection. They'd had issues before with estranged parents trying to attend ceremonies, with custody disputes erupting at school events. Her job was to protect her students and maintain order. She couldn't just let anyone walk in claiming family connections. "Sir, I need you to step aside," Karen said, her voice firm. "You're blocking the entrance." Robert didn't move. "Jake Morrison, class of 2025. Please check again." Karen's assistant principal, Michael Chen, appeared at her elbow. "Karen, we need to let people in. The ceremony starts in 40 minutes. Karen gestured at Robert. "This gentleman claims to be the father of a graduate, but the student isn't on our roster. I need to verify before allowing access." Michael looked at Robert, noticed the uniform, the ribbons, the flag clutched in his hands. Something about the scene made him uncomfortable. "Sir," What did you say your son's name was? Robert's voice remained steady, but strain showed around his eyes. Jake Morrison. He's graduating today. He finished his credits online while deployed. The school called me yesterday about a posthumous diploma. Michael's face went pale. Oh God, Karen, we need to… Karen interrupted. Posthumous? So the student is deceased? Robert flinched at the clinical word. My son died on deployment 4 days ago. Karen's expression didn't soften. Sir, I'm very sorry for your loss. But if the student is deceased, then there's no reason for you to attend the ceremony. We can mail the diploma to you. The words landed like a physical blow. Robert stared at her. No reason? Karen shifted her weight, uncomfortable but committed to her position. The ceremony is for living graduates and their families. We have limited seating. We have security protocols. I can't make exceptions just because… She stopped herself, but the damage was done. Just because. Just because his son died serving his country, just because Robert had flown across the country carrying his son's flag. Just because Jake had earned that diploma through online classes taken between combat operations. Michael grabbed Karen's arm. Karen, we need to discuss this privately. Right now. Karen pulled away. There's nothing to discuss. We have policies. Several families had stopped, sensing conflict. A few parents whispered, looking at Robert with concern. Robert stood perfectly still, decades of military discipline holding him together by threads. My son earned his diploma. I'm here to accept it on his behalf. Please. Woman's voice cut through the tension like a knife. Principal Weston, what exactly is happening here? Dr. Sandra Juarez, the district superintendent, stood behind Robert, her expression dangerous. Karen straightened. Dr. Juarez, I was just explaining our attendance policies to this gentleman. He's not on the approved… Dr. Juarez held up one hand. Stop talking. She turned to Robert, and her entire demeanor changed. Senior Chief Morrison? Robert nodded. Ma'am. Dr. Juarez took a breath, and when she spoke again, her voice carried across the entrance area. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Senior Chief Petty Officer Robert Morrison, United States Navy, retired. 4 days ago, his son, Petty Officer Second Class Jake Morrison, was killed in action while serving with SEAL Team 3 in East Africa. Jake was 3 days away from graduation when he died, defending his teammates during a counter-terrorism operation. The crowd that had been streaming past went silent. Dr. Juarez continued, her voice thick with emotion. Jake Morrison enrolled in our military partnership program during his junior year. He completed basic training, SEAL qualification, and his first deployment, all while finishing his high school credits online. He took his final algebra exam from a forward operating base in Somalia. He wrote his senior English essay about courage and duty between missions. He earned a 3.8 GPA while serving his country. She turned to Karen. And you told his father there was no reason for him to attend graduation? Karen's face had gone white. I didn't know. Dr. Juarez's voice went cold. You didn't know because you didn't ask. You saw a man in uniform carrying a flag and decided he was a problem to be managed, instead of a father in grief who deserves our honor and respect. Inside the auditorium, the graduating seniors had been waiting in the staging area. Word spread fast. Someone's veteran father was being blocked from entering, someone whose son had died. Maya Chen, Michael's daughter and senior class president, pulled out her phone, texting rapidly. Within 2 minutes, 300 graduating seniors knew the story. Within 3 minutes, they'd voted unanimously. Maya stood up, her graduation gown rustling. Everyone stay here. Nobody moves until they let him in. A teacher tried to intervene. Maya, the ceremony needs to start. Jamal Washington, class vice president, stood beside Maya. Then they better let Senior Chief Morrison in. because we're not walking across that stage until he does. Another senior, Emma Rodriguez, raised her voice. Jake Morrison was supposed to be up here with us. If his dad can't come in to accept his diploma, then none of us accept ours. The teacher's eyes went wide. You can't be serious. You'll ruin your own graduation. Maya's voice carried across the staging area. Jake Morrison joined the Navy to serve our country. He finished high school while being a Navy SEAL. He died protecting his team 3 days before graduation. If we let his father be turned away because of some attendance list, then we don't deserve to graduate. We're supposed to be adults now. Adults stand up for what's right. 300 students stood up as one. Outside, Dr. Juarez was finishing with Karen. You have two choices. You can personally escort Senior Chief Morrison to a seat of honor, apologize to him, and ensure Jake Morrison's name is called during the ceremony with full military honors. Or you can explain to 300 students and their families why this graduation is canceled. Karen's hands shook. Canceled. Michael pulled up a text on his phone, showed it to Karen. The entire senior class just voted. They refuse to participate unless Senior Chief Morrison is honored. They're prepared to walk out. Karen looked at Robert, really looked at him for the first time. Saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the grief held barely in check, the way his hands trembled slightly as he held his son's flag. Saw a father who'd lost everything and was just trying to honor his son's achievement. Senior Chief Morrison, she began, her voice breaking. I have no excuse. I was wrong. I was so focused on rules and procedures that I forgot why we're here. We're here to celebrate achievement, to honor hard work, to recognize sacrifice. Your son embodied all of that. She gestured toward the entrance. Please, let me escort you inside. Jake's name will be called, and you will accept his diploma. The entire school will honor him as he deserves. Robert's throat worked. Thank you, Dr. Juarez added, and Principal Weston will personally announce Jake's service and sacrifice to the entire audience. Everyone will know what Jake Morrison achieved and what he gave. The ceremony began 15 minutes late. When the moment came, Principal Karen Weston walked to the microphone, her prepared remarks forgotten. Before we begin presenting diplomas, I need to share something with you. One of our graduates cannot be here today. Petty Officer 2nd Class Jake Morrison, United States Navy, was killed in action 4 days ago while serving with SEAL Team 3 in East Africa. He was 22 years old. The auditorium went completely silent. Jake enlisted during his junior year through our military partnership program. While his classmates were attending prom and football games, Jake was completing SEAL training, the most difficult special operations qualification in the world. While his classmates were taking their ASATs, Jake was on deployment, fighting terrorism, protecting Americans he'd never meet. Karen's voice broke. Jake completed his final high school credits online from combat zones between missions. He earned his diploma through dedication, sacrifice, and extraordinary courage. He died 3 days before he could walk across this stage. She turned to where Robert sat in the front row, the flag across his lap. His father, Senior Chief Petty Officer Robert Morrison, United States Navy retired, is here to accept Jake's diploma on his behalf. Senior Chief Morrison served this nation for 24 years. He raised a son who embodied the very best of our country: courage, dedication, selflessness. When I tried to turn him away from this ceremony, I forgot everything that matters. I forgot that rules serve people, not the other way around. I forgot that some sacrifices are too important to be dismissed by bureaucracy. She paused. Our entire senior class reminded me of that. They were prepared to walk out of their own graduation rather than let Jake Morrison's father be dishonored. That's the kind of young people we're graduating today. That's the kind of adults they're becoming. The audience erupted in applause. Senior Chief Morrison, would you please come forward? Robert stood, his legs unsteady, and walked to the stage. Principal Weston handed him a diploma in a leather holder, her hands shaking. This is Jake's diploma. He earned it. He deserves it. and you deserve our gratitude, our respect, and our recognition." She turned to the audience. "When I call for Jake Morrison, I ask that everyone in this auditorium stand in his honor." She returned to the microphone. Jake Morrison. 3,000 people rose to their feet. The applause was thunderous, sustained, emotional. Parents were crying, students were crying, teachers were crying. Robert stood on that stage, clutching his son's diploma and his son's flag, overwhelmed by the recognition Jake would never see but absolutely deserved. Maya Chen started it. A slow, rhythmic clap. The entire senior class joined in. Then the junior class. Then everyone. The sound filled the auditorium like thunder, like tribute, like the honor Jake had earned and the respect his father deserved. After the ceremony, students lined up to thank Robert, to shake his hand, to tell him they were sorry for his loss. Maya hugged him, tears streaming down her face. "Jake should be here. It's not fair." Robert's voice was soft. "No, it's not fair. But he did what he believed in. He lived for something bigger than himself." Jamal added, "We're going to create a scholarship in Jake's name for students who want to serve, so his legacy continues." Robert couldn't speak, could only nod. Principal Karen Weston approached last, her eyes red. "Senior Chief Morrison, I will carry what I did today for the rest of my life. I will never forget that rules without compassion are just cruelty. I will never forget that some things are more important than procedures. And I will never forget Jake Morrison." Robert extended his hand. She took it. "Thank you for honoring my son." Karen shook her head. "Your son honored us, all of us, by being willing to sacrifice everything for people he'd never meet. That's a debt we can never repay. The truth is, we live in a world that moves too fast, that values efficiency over humanity, that forgets to pause and ask why before enforcing how. We create rules and systems and protocols, and somewhere along the way, we forget that those rules are supposed to serve people, not control them. We forget that behind every uniform, every flag, every sacrifice, there are families in grief, parents who've lost children, dreams that ended too soon. Jake Morrison didn't have to join the Navy. He didn't have to become a SEAL. He didn't have to put himself in harm's way to protect others, but he did. Because he believed in something bigger than himself. Because he valued duty and service and protecting others. And he died for it, 3 days before he could walk across a stage and receive a piece of paper, recognizing what everyone in his life already knew. He was extraordinary. Subscribe to my channel if you believe our fallen heroes and their families deserve more than policy and procedure. If you believe that before we enforce rules, we should remember humanity. If you believe that the greatest honor we can give our military families is not a flag or a ceremony, but simple respect and recognition of their sacrifice, share this story if it moved you. Let's remind ourselves that some things are more important than attendance lists and security protocols. Some sacrifices deserve to be honored, not managed. Some families deserve our compassion, not our bureaucracy. That's the lesson Principal Weston learned. That's the lesson Jake Morrison's classmates already knew. And that's the lesson we should carry with us every single day. Remember their names, honor their service, respect their families. It's the absolute least we can do.